more game in the Wii U, and that is Jeopardy. Let's see how we do. Hopefully we do better than how we did on Wii U.
This is Jeopardy! Please welcome our contestants. Player 1. Player 2. Player 3. And now, here is the host of Jeopardy, Alex Trebek.
Thank you, Johnny Gilbert, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Let's take you right now into the Jeopardy round. Clues are worth $200 to $1,000 in these categories. Defined in the OED. Book learning. Asian countries. Be fruitful and multiply. TV shows that bombed. And Thomas Paine said, Player 1, the world's largest blue coral reef is one of the natural treasures of this country's Ishigaki Island. It's Player 1. Good. Player
Here's
1. Kelly with the clue.
You'll find the palace seen here in this country's capital.
Player 1. Yep. Player Norodom 1. Sihamoni assumed its throne in 2004. Let's hear it, Player 1. Sorry, that's wrong. Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? Let's hear it, Player 2. That's right, way to go. Player 2, you're in command of the board as we continue, right? In November of 1976, the United States vetoed this reunited country's admission to the UN. Yes, Player 1? Yes. Player 1. Dhaka is its capital. Yes, Player 1? Right. Player 1. Multiply 5 times 5 times 5 to get this. Yes, Player 1? That's correct. Player 1. It's 3 times 4 times 5 times 6. Let's hear it, Player 1. It's negative 10 times 6 times negative 9. Yes, Player 1? Correct. Player 17 times 2 times 6 equals this. Okay, Player 1? That is correct. 33 times 33 equals this. It's Player 1. Right. We return to Her Little Women appeared in 1868. A mere 127 years later, her A Long Fatal Love Chase arrived. Okay, Player 1. Good for you. In addition to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, he wrote an 1887 story on the Civil War, North against South. It's player one. That is correct. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others, in a 1945 book by this author. It's player one. That's correct. Answer, the Daily Double. And you have the lead. What are you going to wager? The clue. In 1840, he hit a bumpo in the road and penned The Pathfinder. Congratulations, you're still in first, player one. In 1863, this Russian wrote The Cossacks, a short novel based on his travels with the army. Yes, player one? No. Sorry. Anyone else want to hazard a guess on this? Player two. No. Sorry. Any other takers? It's player three. Right. Where do we begin, player three? In a 2007 episode of this series, a terrorist detonated a low-yield suitcase nuke in Valencia, California. Okay, player one? Yes. Let's take it over to Kelly.
In an episode of this classic 60s series, bookworm Henry Bemis survives a nuclear war and finds a library, but then breaks his glasses.
Player one? That's it. Player this one. Series, Peter Petrelli had visions that he would cause a nuclear holocaust in New York City. Let's hear it, player one. That is correct. You again. In a 1977 episode of this sitcom, Detective Diedrich notes that a student's physics project is a functional nuke. Player one? Yes. Please. The nuclear blast that caused chaos in Jericho, Kansas was detonated in this state capital to the west. It's player one. Right you are. You again, player the director one. Of an orchestra or chorus. Okay, player one. That's correct. Player one. A lofty tower forming part of a church. Player one. Right. A large, many-celled berry with a leathery yellow, orange, or red rind. Player one? Yeah, good. Player one? A road junction designed so that traffic streams do not intersect. Player one? Anyone else? Here's the correct response. An interchange. Player one. To move from site to site on the internet. It's player one. Good. Player one. The crisis number one begins. These are the times that try men's these. It's player one. Good. The fate of Charles I hath only made these individuals more subtle, not more just. Yes, player one? Sorry, that's wrong. Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? Let's hear it, player two. Yes, you're out of the hole. Player two, you start. No man was a warmer wisher for reconciliation than myself before the fatal 19th of this month, 1775. Yes, player one? No. Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? We're talking about April. Player two, you pick again, please. In The Rights of Man in 1791, Paine wrote, "The cause of the rebellion in this country is that of the whole world." Player one? Ooh, sorry. That's incorrect. Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? The correct response is France. Let's have a look at the $1,000 clue. This basic document is the property of a nation and not of those who exercise the government. Let's hear it, player one. That is correct. Player two is in third place, which means, of course, player two will select first in Double Jeopardy. Categories for the Double Jeopardy round are: Name the playwright, Our World, Adventures in the Air, Pop Gals, Metals, and The Deep Blue Sea. Player two, you go first in this Double Jeopardy round. Hitting a speed of about 800 miles per hour, Chuck Yeager broke this barrier in October of 1947. Okay, player one. Good. In 1907, Paul Cornu became the first man to fly freely in one of these horizontally rotored aircraft. Yes, player one? Right. Player one? Excellent. The first of the two daily doubles. You are currently in the lead. Here is your clue. August 1983 saw the first night launch of this reusable U.S. orbital vehicle. Congratulations, you're still in first, player one. Player one. Taking 16 hours in 1919, British aviators Alcock and Brown became the first to cross this large body of water non-stop. Player one? That is correct. In 1909, Louis Blériot became the first person to fly in a plane over this, between Great Britain and France. Okay, player one? That's correct. Player one, pick again. Heading southeast, the Yucatan Channel between Mexico and Cuba leads into this sea. It's player one. Hey, you're right. Player one. The Romans called it Mare Nostrum, our sea. Player one? Right. Player one. Astrakhan, Russia is found nearest the shores of this large sea, which is really a salt lake. It's player one. That is correct. You answer. The other daily double. You are. Answer this. It's found on the southern end of the Suez Canal. That puts you even further ahead. Player one. The Crimean Mountains contain prominent cliffs found on the northern coast of this sea. Okay, player one. Correct. Please pick again, player one. Pricier than gold, it's the metal of Jennifer Lopez's albums and of her earrings at the premiere of El Cantante. Okay, player one. Good for you. Player one. Here's Sarah with the clue.
By studying seismic waves, scientists concluded that the Earth is made up of 4 layers: the crust, mantle, a liquid outer core, and a solid inner core, made mainly of this metal.
It's player one. Sorry, that's wrong. Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? It's player three. Sorry, that's wrong. Any other takers? Player two. Hey, you're right. Where do we begin, player two? Antimony gives strength and hardness to this metal, so you don't have those mushy bullets. Yes, player one? That's correct. Oh, brass is an alloy of copper and this. The more this, the less malleable. Let's hear it, player one. Ooh, sorry. That's incorrect. Any other takers? Here's the correct response. Zinc. You get to withstand the pressure over 14,000 feet down, the submersible Alvin's hull is this metal, about 2 inches thick. It's player one. No. Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? Yes, player three? Correct. Player three, you start us off. Death of a Salesman, The Crucible. It's player one. That is correct. Player Speed one. The Plow, Glengarry Glen Ross. Okay, player one. Correct. An American Daughter, The Heidi Chronicles. Yes, player one. Ooh, sorry. That's incorrect. Any other takers? We're talking about Wendy Wasserstein. Player one, you pick again. Lettuce and Lovage, Amadeus. Let's hear it, player one. Nope. Anyone else? The correct response is Peter Schaffer. You get to pick a Curse of the Starving Class, True West. Let's hear it, player one. No, that's not right. Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? Here's the response we were looking for. Sam Shepard. We return to you, player one.
The first 5 singles off her album, Teenage Dream, reached number 1 on Billboard's Hot 100 list.
Okay, player one. Yes. Player one. This Girl Like Me and Disturbia songstress was born in Barbados. Player one. That is correct. You get it wasn't déjà vu when this member of Destiny's Child sang with Jay-Z on the song Déjà Vu. Yes, player one. You got it. You fans go ape over this gal born Stephanie Germanotta, who hit number 1 with Bad Romance. Player one. Good. Player in 2005, she topped the album charts with The Emancipation of Mimi. Let's hear it, player one. Sorry, that's wrong. Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? It's player two. Correct. Player two, you start. A dishonest or unprincipled man, or one of the X-Men. Yes, player one. That's correct. Player one. What the Brits call a Macintosh isn't an apple, but one of these. Yes, player one. No, sorry. Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? The correct response is a raincoat. Player one. In the movies, it was Charles Foster Kane's cryptic final word. It's player one. Yep. The Oxford English Dictionary defines it as a noisy dispute or quarrel. Let's hear it, player one. No. Anyone else want to hazard a guess on this? Here's the response we were looking for. A row. Now let's take a look at that $2,000 clue, shall we? And here's Sarah.
Similar to a root, it's a botanical term for a thick stem from which shoots develop into new plants.
Okay, player one. Oh, sorry. That's incorrect. Anyone else? Player three? Right. All three of you will participate in Final Jeopardy right after this. We're back. The category for Final Jeopardy today is literary characters. You need to select your wager. Now, let's reveal the Final Jeopardy clue. This hero is the son of Ecthil and the grandson of Hrethel. What did you put as your response? And this correct response will add how much to your score? Did you come up with the correct response? And that correct response will add Let's see your response. And this correct response will add how much to your
See you
score?
on that next segment, everybody.
Congratulations, Player One. You are our new champion.
Yeah, you.
We'll see you next time.